We are aware of the types of diseases by now. One was infectious and other was non-infectious. For example, we talk about cholera, that is a waterborne disease, and on the other hand we talk about cancer, that is a condition which is inborn from the body. There is no, one was waterborne, other is inborn, that means the body's system has altered. Though cancer in certain cases could be infectious as well because of a certain virus behind the cancer. But just for example, I quoted cancer. Otherwise, I can give you the example when somebody is having kwashiorkor. That is also a disease, but it is caused by protein malnutrition basically. Now, what we have to deal with next is, because we are quite aware of the things, the first thing that we have to deal with is that what are the agents behind infectious diseases. We are going to concentrate mostly, or mainly I would say, we are going to concentrate on the infectious diseases. We are not considering the non-infectious ones. So because we are dealing with them, first of all we deal with the infectious agents. Now try to recall what you studied in diversity of life. Over there we studied that the life forms can be classified into different categories. There were a few broad categories, out of which the first one was, this is also a sort of revision of what you have studied in diversity, kingdom monera, that was bacteria. This is one of the infectious agents. Then we have certain organisms which are known as viruses. They are also infectious agents. They are the reason behind most of the diseases in human body. Then we have certain organisms known as protozoans, which are part of kingdom protista. If you can recall, we have bacteria, we have viruses, we have protozoans, and certain organisms which are multicellular and worm-like. There are certain worms which could also be causative agents of certain diseases. Then we have fungi. Now over here you are not going to find any plant. Reason is because they can make their own food. All these cannot make their own food, so they are going to depend on some other body. Mostly when we are discussing this, why do we fall ill, we deal with the parasitic forms. Okay. Now we talk about bacteria. Bacteria are unicellular. If I talk about bacterial diseases, the first one that comes to my mind right now, I spoke it, so that is cholera. Then we have the simple pimples that emerge on your face. You know that those acne on your face, they are caused by Staphylococcus bacteria. Then we have typhoid, that is also a bacterial disease. Then we have tuberculosis. See, there are so many diseases which are often caused by bacteria. Okay. Then we have viral diseases. The first and foremost I would mention over here is the most deadly disease that is present nowadays in the 21st century, that is AIDS, which is caused by HIV. That is a virus that causes this disease. Then AIDS is a cumulative disease. We are going to discuss about it. So the causative agent behind it is virus. Then we have the common cold that is caused by rhinovirus that we have around us. Then recently you might have heard that India got free from a disease known as polio. So we have a disease called polio that is also caused by a virus. Then there are a lot many more diseases. There is another prevalent disease that you must have heard recently a lot about, dengue. That is the vector is a mosquito, but the disease is caused by a virus. Then we talk about protozoans. Because we are talking about dengue over here, we are going to talk about a disease known as malaria that is caused by a protozoan, that is Plasmodium. You must have heard about this name. So we have malaria. Then we have diseases like Kala Azar that is caused by Leishmania. Then we have sleeping sickness. There are many diseases which are caused by protozoans as well. Then we have amoebic dysentery. What is dysentery? Dysentery is a condition of loose motions I would term, but they are blood drenched. Then we talk about worms. Now when we talk about worms, you must have heard about a disease known as elephantiasis. Have you heard about it? In the condition of such disease, the limbs of the infected person, they grow as huge as that of an elephant. So we have the disease caused by worms, that is elephantiasis. And when I talk about worms, now that you are aware of the animal kingdom, I am specifically referring to the two phylums, that is platyhelminths and aschelminths, nematoda. Over there we had seen that there were many worms, and try to recall, over there I gave you the example of ascaris. So there is elephantiasis and ascariasis that is seen in most of young children. They often complain of having worms in their stomach and they cry of the pain, that is ascariasis. We have elephantiasis, and as we have discussed about the worms and the diseases caused by them, we have worms as the causative agents of infectious diseases. Now moving on to fungi, you must have seen or heard about ringworms, right? Ringworms are caused by fungi. That is the fungal infestation on the skin often causes ringworms. Fungi, because they are saprophytic, they are usually present on the external surfaces. So whatever skin infections you probably are seeing in the body, they could be caused by fungi. Okay, so all these infectious agents would be causing these diseases. Okay, specifically for your own knowledge, you can check out what is the causative agent of a particular disease. The scientific name of it could be learnt, that is upon your discretion, but you need to know that what is the difference between a bacterial disease, a viral disease, a protozoan disease, a worm disease and a fungal disease. Not the fundamentals behind these diseases, but simply what are the examples if we have to discuss about it. Okay, now because we are quite aware about infectious agents by now, you can use Google for your better understanding so that you can see pictures and understand what these causative organisms look like. That would be better and beneficial for your learning mechanism. Understanding purpose was this much, and I'm done with it. Moving further, we have second thing, because we are done with infectious agents, the second thing we deal with is means of spread. Now from here, we just revise what we have studied till now in our younger classes. Just a simple revision. How can they be spread? We have two types of diseases, as I told you, that is communicable or non-communicable, that we call as infectious and non-infectious, contagious and non-contagious. So we have terms, you have to remember these terms. Just for making you recall, I am writing them: communicable and non-communicable. Another interchangeably used term is contagious or non-contagious. Okay. If any one of you have ever seen the advertisement that is being spread by the government about AIDS, they often say that it is not spread by touching. Okay, so when something is spread by touching or coming in close contact with the patient itself or with the things associated with the patient, that particular disease is communicable. That means it can spread out, or the other term is contagious. And if it is not caused, it is the main causative agent which goes and infects the individual, then the disease would be non-communicable. As in the case of elephantiasis, if you go and sit next to the elephantiasis patient, it is not going to cause any harm to you, even if he or she coughs, throws droplets out of his body, because the main causative agent itself has its mechanism to come and infect the other individual. That condition is non-communicable. As I gave you the example of AIDS advertisement, over there also the virus needs a particular channel to go and infect the individual. It is not contagious. That means it will not go from one person to other simply by touching. Okay, so what are the means of spread for that? Because you have seen these terms now, we have 2 or 3 more terms, and that would make you recall whatever you have studied till now. The first one is if the disease is airborne, infection happens to be airborne. The second one is if the infection happens to be waterborne. Okay, so what we have over here is that the infectious could be airborne, that means the causative agent would be thrown out of the body of the patient into the air, and whosoever comes in the immediate contact of that air can be infected. That is the airborne condition. Second one is the waterborne condition. What if the patient has infected the water, that is through the fecal matter or urinal that is being passed into the water gets contaminated and a healthy individual consumes that water, that would be waterborne disease. There is another condition that is vector-borne. You protect yourself from air, infected air, you protect yourself from contaminated water, but a vector comes, that could be a mosquito or it could be some other protozoan, it comes, it bites you and the disease comes into your body. That condition is vector-borne. And one is the example I gave you of AIDS. We are going to discuss about AIDS now and how it is spread, and then we'll be done with this topic. In the case of airborne disease, it is often that if you drink water or if you come in contact with somebody who's having common cold, you are going to contact that disease. So we have example of common cold. We have example of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis patient is often set in exclusion so that the air droplets that is going to be rich in the bacteria which has diseased the particular individual, they will have tuberculosis bacteria in them. So the airborne disease condition would be that. Then we have waterborne disease. Waterborne disease, the fecal matter goes and infects the particular water body and that causes the disease in the healthy individual whosoever consumes that water, right? Now this waterborne disease, the biggest example, now you see this cholera disease is on my mind because I started it in the beginning. This cholera would be the condition. Then we have typhoid. Typhoid is also caused by contaminated water. There is a condition of dysentery that we talked about, amoebic dysentery, that would also be waterborne. Talking about vector-borne diseases, elephantiasis. Now don't confuse yourself with the names getting repeated because the context over here is how they are spread. Earlier was what were the infectious agents. You can recall what were the infectious agents for your revision purpose. Elephantiasis is caused by a particular mosquito that has the worm eggs inside it. Then we have malaria, that is also caused by a particular mosquito. By now you are quite aware what is the term for what is the name of that mosquito, that is Anopheles. Then we have dengue. These also are spread by a mosquito bite, you know that, and by now you must be knowing the name of the mosquito as well. We have Culex, Anopheles and Aedes. So these were the names of the mosquitoes which spread these diseases. We have vector-borne diseases. Now before we move to which organ is being infected by the particular disease, that is manifestations in organ or tissue by the disease manifestations I would say, we have to talk little bit about AIDS. Now what is AIDS? AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. First of all, know what is syndrome. In the beginning I told you that AIDS is a cumulative disease. There are many diseases which are present in a particular stage or condition. So we have syndrome. Syndrome is basically a group of diseases. That means inside an AIDS patient there would be many diseases. Now what is this immunodeficiency? You know, inside our body we have an immune system. Our body is a machinery. It has many systems, out of which there is one system, that is immune system. Thanks to all the evolutionary years, we have learnt about this system where our body knows and remembers what infection comes and it helps in covering up that infection. That means the recovery mechanism of the body against a particular disease. You know, we have survived till now so long over a long period, we have evolved so much. Had it been the immune system not present in the body, you can very well imagine the other organisms would have come, they would have shown the manifestations, and we could not have survived this much, because whatever is present in nature has to be food of somebody. And these microbes, they are so shrewd, you can make it out, that they are so cunning and clever that they go inside the body, they hamper the body, they kill the individual. That is what they do. So for that particular thing, our body has an immune system inside it. Now, if some microbe comes and alters that immune system only, that means you have a police mechanism, a police department for checking up the criminals, and what if that police department is doing the criminal activity? Same thing is happening in the case of AIDS. You have an immune system that is for checking up the microbial infestation. A virus comes and corrupts that immune system, and that immune system helps in developing that viral infestations more and more. This is what AIDS is about. So that is why we have a syndrome where a group of diseases are shown because the immune system has been compromised. Okay, now the immune system, the same example I gave you of the police department getting corrupt itself or doing criminal activities itself, the immune system that was meant to protect the body is now helping in the infestation of the virus. That is what AIDS is. What is the causative agent? It is human immunodeficiency virus. Okay, now this virus goes inside the body. There are different methods by which the AIDS patient can contact AIDS, and it is not contagious. That is what I wanted to tell you, and it is not curable as well. The individual, if he or she develops this syndrome, he is going to die for sure. Okay, so this is very deadly disease. Apart from, there is another deadly disease known as cancer that is also taking huge fund and corpus of the entire humanity, and at the same time now this AIDS is also developing, it is sort of giving challenge to cancer. So we have AIDS, and this much is to be kept in mind about AIDS. Rest is all your general awareness that you keep about certain diseases. Moving further, the last one is that how does disease manifest itself? We have talked about the agent, we have talked about the spread. Now next we are going to talk about the manifestation.